This week, your policy paper is due, and we're also continuing on with the craft book looking at chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9 looks at poverty and a variety of programs that aim to reduce it, beginning with an exploration of the variety of ways that policy and analysts examine this important issue. The chapter outlines the benefits and financing of the Social Security system, one of a number of federal programs designed to help individuals maintain a minimal income level after retirement. Social Security's changing demographics are presented to illustrate the potential problems that programs may face in the future, especially its continued financial viability. The chapter then discusses other means-tested welfare programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the Earned Income Tax Credit, and the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act of 1996. The latter was the major reform of the former Aid to Families with Dependent Children program, and its efficacy is discussed. The chapter concludes by focusing discussions on the effectiveness, political feasibility, and equity issues of Social Security reform options. A key question asked in this chapter is, why do we need welfare? While it does provide a minimum standard of living, it meets the basic needs of individuals. It should create opportunities for viable employment and protect the vulnerable. So how do we determine who needs help? Generally, it's a measure of poverty based on income and family size, but there are also other ways to evaluate who needs help. How does the Social Security program work? It's the largest federal spending program. It is social service for everyone. Its purpose is to keep old people out of poverty primarily. It began in 1935. What policy changes have been proposed and why? These are mainly geared toward fixing the Social Security system. They include increasing the retirement age, raising the ceiling for Social Security payroll taxes, change the benefit formula, reduce the benefits for wealthy Americans, slow cost of living increases, and slowly privatize the entire system. What are other major government welfare programs that help the poor? A lot of these started during the War on Poverty during the Johnson administration in the mid-60s. Some of these are entitlement or means-tested programs. They include the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance or SNAP program, or often known as the food stamp program. There is the Free and Reduced School Lunch program for K-12 students. There is the program, the WIC program, called for Women, Infants, and Children program. It provides milk and other substances for newborn babies. And then there is Temporary Aid for Needy Families, or TANF. Chapter 10 looks at education policy. For most of the U.S. history, the federal government has played a relatively small role in K-12 education. It has only been since the 1960s that the federal role has expanded in the way it has. In higher education, however, the federal government does provide a role, providing some direct funding, but more often providing research funding. So why is education important? In the U.S., education has very important social and democratic purposes. It provides for upward mobility. It's also an important tool for the assimilation of immigrants, and it perpetuates democracy. A well-informed citizenry is more likely to be active, including voting. So, a big question is, should education be viewed as a public good? That is a hotly debated issue. This answer has huge implications on the government role in education. So what is the government's role, particularly in K-12 education? Traditionally, financing and operation has been by the states and local governments. Though since the 60s, the federal role has expanded. including the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, which provided for certain fundings for special programs such as for Head Start and special education services. In higher education, the federal government's role is different. In higher education, it is well accepted that someone's level of education is directly connected to their lifelong earnings potential. More education leads to better workforce, greater civic engagement, and a higher quality of life. These facts create a role for the government to promote higher education.